Welcome back to the Matter of Facts podcast on the Prepper Broadcasting Network. We talk prepping, guns, and politics every week on iTunes, Stitcher, and Spotify. Go check out our content at mwfpodcast.com on Facebook or Instagram. You can support us via Patreon or by checking out our affiliate partners. I'm your host, Phil Rabalais. Andrew and Nick are on the other side of the mic, and here's your show. Well, if somebody happens to know a tech priest, I could certainly use one, because right before we went live, my computer went completely freaking haywire. So, I'm not sure what I've done to piss off the machine god, but any ideas, Nick?
I mean, did you share your cigar with it lately?
No, because I thought Magic's Hoax stayed in the machine and didn't get bathed over it.
You have to infuse it with the proper incense alongside the prayers. That's the key.
Okay, maybe that's what I goofed up.
You gotta fill up the smoke for the pixies.
Well, I know that, this old desktop's usually pretty good about behaving itself, but every once in a while, I think maybe it needs a cup of coffee poured over it, just to get its mind right a little bit.
This desktop next to me is cobbled together out of 5 broken desktops that I acquired from work when they were getting rid of them.
So, in other words, it's literally possessed.
Yes.
Outstanding. Well, you've definitely pissed off the machine gods, and I only have a little bit, apparently. But anyway, welcome back.
It's fine.
Welcome back to Matter of Fact Podcast. We are a pinnacle of preparedness and professionalism and all those things.
Well, one of us is actually a somewhat IT professional, so
you must be counting yourself, because you're not counting me.
Technically, I'm the entire IT department at work, which is terrifying.
I was about to say, I don't want to cast any aspersions your way, but that alarms me.
It should. It should. I've got several friends that are actual IT professionals, and the fact that I'm in charge of an entire company's network, they find that disturbing greatly.
See, I have the misfortune of being the junior IT person on my floor, because the real IT guys are always busy. So people knock on their door, and since I sit like 10 feet away from their front door, when they don't answer, they come to me.
Nice.
And they're like, Phil, I know this isn't your job, but do you think you can help? And unfortunately, the answer is usually yes.
Yeah, I mean, most IT problems can be solved by well-formatted Google searches. They really can. Or turning it off and turning it back on. That's why that's always step one.
Turning it off and on again is always the first step of IT work. And if you don't believe me, call for tech support and listen to the very first thing they ask you right after, are you sure it's turned on?
Yeah, are you sure it's plugged in? Is usually the first question.
Immediately followed by,
all right, let's power
unplug
it. Yep.
Anyway, so today we were going to have a nice, even keel, low key, chill episode about a prepper's recipe book, and we're going to get to that. But first, we got to do admin work, and then we have to complain about politicians.
We do.
Something's got to pay the bills around here.
It's required.
Speaking of paying the bills, the patrons pay the bills. If you're not one, you should think about becoming one. I can introduce you to a bunch of sociopaths that will alarm you, confuse you, and spend your retirement funds rapidly. I think we recently convinced somebody to buy a Beretta 1301.
I think we did, yes. I do believe I saw the invoice, too, so he definitely bought it.
And I'm only minorly annoyed that the Gen 1 1301s went on sale, and they're now discounted to just about what I paid for an A300.
Yeah, I mean, I got a screaming deal on my 300, so it's still like another $300 more than I paid for my 300, so I feel good about the 300.
I'm not upset about my 300. I love that shotgun. And I can't really be upset that I paid full freight for it, because, it's a friend of mine's gun shop, and every dollar he saves me comes out of him. And that's just, I can't do that to him.
And it's a quality firearm. I mean, you can wait and watch all day for sales, but honestly, a gun in the hand that you can train with now is better than a gun $300 cheaper in 2 years.
True. Anyway, but the patrons pay the bills, and Southern Gals merch also pays the bills. Pays them, and then they pay us a little bit, because they do most of the legwork.
they do pretty much all of the legwork.
Yeah.
Which,
I will say
and
this much though.
extremely quickly.
And Southern gals, I gotta admit, I like my one concern when we got into, I was about to get into bed with them. That's a little odd. They're a married couple. That's really odd. Anyway,
Well,
but when we entered into this agreement with them, my one concern was I want to make sure it's a quality product, and I have to admit,
Yep.
don't do cheap stuff.
no, they do not.
And Cypress Survivalist, it's still going on. We still have an event in November. If you're curious, there's a link in the show description. You can follow to that website. You can figure out what's going on in November. And if you're not interested, you should be watching for our Get Ready event that we haven't planned yet, but it's probably going to be like first quarter next year.
Nice.
Anyway, I don't have a banner for it, but can I just ask?
Mm-hmm.
Donald Trump, his administration, the DOJ.
Yep.
What in the... I mean, so...
I understand why they're doing it. It's emotional manipulation.
Since this just happened today, you have to explain what the thing they're trying to do is.
So the DOJ, the Trump administration, is talking about banning transgender individuals from owning firearms, which is unconstitutional on its face.
Yes.
Now, if on an individual by individual basis, they were adjudicated mentally defective, which there are definitely some of them that probably are. I'm not a mental health professional. We could ask Eddie, but he's not with us today on short notice. Unless they're individually adjudicated mentally defective or have been found guilty of one of the number of violent felonies that we deem loses you your rights, then this is unconstitutional on its face. End of discussion, as far as I'm concerned.
And I get, like, this shouldn't be a great shock to anybody that's paid attention to this show or you or me for more than about 15 seconds. But, like, I get really squeamish in two particular instances. First of all, whenever somebody talks about handing the government a power, because I'm not that old, Nick, but I'm old enough to remember that every time we hand the government power, they're very reluctant to give it up. And it always survives the administration that we gave that power to. So, something.
So far, I've not known them to give up any power ever. Not even once.
No,
I mean,
not
correct
willingly.
me if I'm wrong, Stuart. Let me know, man. What power has the government given up after it's acquired it? Because if anybody would know, it would be him, man. That guy is just a font of wisdom.
Oh, I'm starring Raggle Fraggle's comic because we're going to come back to that in just one moment.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. I don't like the idea of giving the government more power. I don't like the idea of giving them the power to unilaterally, in broad strokes, decide via executive fiat. Because anytime you talk about the DOJ doing something, that's executive.
It's executive fiat. It is, yeah.
And I don't like the idea of giving them the power to adjudicate an entire group of people based on mere membership. Whether or not they are allowed to have something as basic as firearm rights. Like, that makes me incredibly squeamish.
Well, the only group that constitutionally we could do that to is communists, because according to the 1984 Civil Rights Act, communists are not a protected class.
Does that mean we could also give them helicopter rights?
I believe it means they're not people.
We'll circle back around to that. But anyway. But like that's kind of my gripe here is like, if you, like you said, Nick, if you want to make the argument that like a person has been adjudicated mentally defective, they have a documented proclivity towards violent behavior or mental instability, like if you want to put an individual person through the existing legal process to have their firearms rights taken from them, and that should be a high bar to clear because it's gun rights. It's supposed to be fundamental.
Well, then, any right in the Bill of Rights, you should have to have a very elaborate due process to revoke.
Yes, but this administration kind of has some history here of supporting red flag laws and bump stock bans and pistol haze, shenanigans and all sorts of things. So like, this isn't really out of pocket. this isn't
No.
even really surprising. It just freaking annoys the shit out of me because once again, we all get together and we vote based on our individual priorities and everything else. And usually we're picking the least smelly turd that is thrown up in front of us to run this freaking country for 4 years. And once again, the minute somebody gets in office that sits there in front of the cameras and tells everybody with a straight face, your gun rights are secure, your rights are secure, and all the FUDs and all the normies and all the big Second Amendment chest beaters go to freaking sleep. The minute that happens, we wind up right back in the situation where I am pissed off one more time because the executive branch decides now's the time to start restricting gun rights yet again. And in that same vein, I'll be the first to admit that, because Raggle said it. Raggle said, I venture to guess that transgenderism would qualify as mentally defective. There's an argument to be made there, but here's the problem, bud, and this is the part that scares me. You could make this exact same argument about military veterans or post-traumatic stress disorder. You can make this exact same argument about people with clinical anxiety or depression. You could make this exact same argument about anyone that checks himself into a mental health professional for minor counseling. You can... this isn't just a slippery slope. It's a lake of oil poured down a hill. Mm-hmm. And once you establish the precedent that you can restrict the rights unilaterally before there's bad behavior, before there's law broken, before there's an instance of violence for a group of people, believe me, line up the Bible, so I'll put my hand on every one of them. Sooner or later, some smartass is going to get the bright idea to try to push the boundaries a little bit. It'll happen under another Republican administration the minute everybody goes to sleep, or it'll happen under a Democrat administration that is rabidly anti-gun, and it won't freaking matter because we didn't fight it now.
Yep. So yeah, it's entirely unacceptable. I mean, yeah, is it a mental health condition? I think it is. But then if it's a mental health condition, make the case. Make the case that's not. It doesn't matter if it's a mental health condition or not. Has a judge or jury adjudicated them mentally defective? I guess that's not capable of being a functional adult in society.
I guess that's kind of what I'm saying when I say make the case. Like, make the case that
on an individual by individual basis.
Yes. Make the argument. Make the argument, because the minute we start painting groups of people with broad brushes and restricting their rights, I'm going to get aggravated because I can see this might be 5 or 50 years in the future. This will be turned around and used against other people, other groups of undesirables people who the government doesn't want to have gun rights. Yep. We've seen this before, guys. Like,
we have. The worst part of it is it violates the core founding principles of the Western criminal justice system of the presumption of innocence.
Yeah.
Before you even get to a civil rights discussion or an individual rights discussion, it is a violation of the presumption of innocence, which violates the entire basis of our judicial system.
Yeah. And understand, given what just happened, given the shooting recently, given the children that were
overreactions are understandable.
I totally and completely understand that emotion. I understand the frustration. I understand the alarm, and I understand the wanting to do something. But I am telling you right here and now that this ain't the thing to support, because if it was, then we would have been supporting every asshole for the last 100 years who tried to restrict AR-15s, 9mm handguns, and everything else, because taking guns away from everybody would solve crime. And I shouldn't have to sell that idea to you that that's a bad idea. It doesn't work. What does work, on the other hand, is hardening targets.
It does.
So, like I say this, I say this way too often because I say it every time there's a tragedy. But the minute we start defending children with the same vigor we defend politicians, banks, and private property, then and only then will I believe a freaking word that comes out of any politician's mouth about giving a shit about life or liberty. I will give the tiniest damn about any of these anti-gun organizations caring about children. Because you won't defend them with the same things we defend everything else with that matters to us in society.
You know, I have not looked as deep into this recent shooting as I have others in the past because we haven't had enough time yet. But what little I have seen, this person showed a propensity for violence prior to this.
Warning signs.
A pretty clear series of warning signs that they were wildly mentally unstable and violently so.
Yeah. And
okay,
once again,
nothing was done. Everything was ignored.
Everything was ignored.
Supposedly, now I've not seen proof of this, but supposedly they had done other violent criminal acts in the past.
Is this starting to sound familiar, Nick?
If we enforced the laws that are already on the books, this could have entirely been prevented if we didn't go, but let's just give them another chance.
Yeah. Parkland shooting. I mean, look, I am at this point, we should freaking make a t-shirt that just has a picture of an FBI guy and was known to the FBI. It is the joke that tells itself at this point because known to
law enforcement.
Yeah.
Great.
Well, that's great. Do your freaking jobs for a change and stop allowing violent people to exist in society until they commit a horrible act of violence. Like when they skin an animal in the backyard.
Even if the police do their job, the DAs are letting these people go because they're a victim class. Because they're one of the chosen ones of the DNC in a lot of these places.
And remind me, district attorneys, those are elected officials, aren't they?
They are elected officials, yes.
It's almost like when you vote freaking ideologues into office that don't want to do their jobs properly, there are consequences for it.
There are. And this is the consequence for voting in soft on crime DAs. I get it. A lot of these people are children. Children do stupid shit all the time. You know what I didn't do as a child, Phil?
Kill people.
Skin animals for no reason. I didn't kill people. I didn't make videos threatening to murder lots of people. Yeah, I rode my ATV where I probably shouldn't. Rode my dirt bike where I probably shouldn't have. Definitely where I shouldn't have. Definitely drove a car without having a license. Guess what? I grew up out in the boonies. You know, every farm kid drove the farm truck, you know, without a license down the road. Nobody cared because we didn't run into anything. We didn't hurt anybody.
And if you had, do you think there would have been consequences?
Oh, hell yeah, there would have been consequences.
Just saying.
At the very least among my family members because I wrecked whatever vehicle it was, but definitely from the police.
I'm just saying maybe there's a life lesson there.
Exactly. Actions have consequences. The second you remove these consequences, just like you remove the consequences for misbehavior and failing your assignments in school, what do we get? We get more illiterate people than ever. I think there was a study that came out recently about my state, Illinois. 20% of adults in Illinois are illiterate. They're functionally illiterate. Not a single child graduating, or what was it? Not a single child is at grade level in the city of Chicago for reading, math, or science. Not one.
I'm going to ask
in
you
like
to put a pin in
25 of 35 school districts.
We're going to have to put a pin in that for another day. Mm-hmm. I'll add it to my list.
Good. How do we fix schools? The beatings will continue. No, don't beat children. That's not cool.
I mean, it worked for some of us.
Well, yeah, some kids don't necessarily learn the way schools are built. I mean, I don't function well in a scholastic environment. I function much better in a hands-on practical environment. That's why I'm a tool and die maker. That's why I'm not an engineer.
Yes, and I babysit adults for a living. Yeah, no, it's not a vibe, but you know,
I like CNC machines and steel because when they backsass me, I can hit them with a hammer.
I mean, technically, you could do that with coworkers, but not very.
At least once.
Yeah, at least once.
At least once.
Rachel, parents don't give their child consequences.
That is correct. Education starts in the home. And if your child isn't properly socialized by 8 years old, congratulations, you failed. They never will be.
I mean,
you have basically until they're 6 to 8 years old.
I mean, I might be able to smooth talk a teacher into coming on this show next week in your absence.
Ooh, you should do that.
Ooh, we might have just come up with a topic.
That's a perfect.
Because I was asking her the other day, what do you want to talk
about?
And she said she didn't know or didn't care, or something to that effect. So now we are going to talk about the school system, and I'm going to see if I can't get a Mrs. Matter of Fact's rant wound up.
Good. Yeah, you know, unfortunately, because of the No Child Left Behind policies of the Bush administration, because of the soft on crime policies towards children in schools, because of the lax standards in schools for these kids, and the more close you get to an inner city, the more lax the standards get and the more money they spend on the schools. Guess what? You still get worse results.
Yeah, it's almost like we can't just inflate the system with enough money to make it work. Almost like it's flawed from the get-go.
It is. It is flawed from the get-go. Well, it has been flawed from the get-go for a while. The Department of Education has really done a terrible job at improving education. It's been on a downward trajectory since Reagan signed into no-fault divorce.
We're going to need a whole topic on all the things that Republicans have done to piss us off.
I don't know that there's a Republican president that hasn't done something that's made.
Then there will be.
We could probably go through all
Then there will be plenty of fertile ground with which to plant angry seeds into.
I mean, Lincoln, one of arguably the most well-regarded presidents, was imprisoning, I believe it was imprisoning newspaper writers and newspaper producers for printing things that he didn't agree with mid-war.
Jeff Jag, what? The government hasn't fixed the problem they created? Oh, no.
Look, we would, if they solved the problem, we would have excess budget that we could then put back into actually doing something important. So we have to keep the problem to keep the budget to keep our jobs.
Yeah. The last one before we get to topic, Raggle Fraggle. I'm trying like hell to convince my wife to homeschool our kids, but she just won't budge. I will say
private school's an option.
I will say that like my child is in private school. It is eye-wateringly expensive.
Yes.
But in the grand scheme of things, probably worth it. So
yeah. If it gives her even a couple percentage point leg up on her peers, it will pay dividends wildly.
I will just say that like she started the 8th grade this year. I believe almost every one of her classes is either advanced placement or the 9th grade level.
Good.
And she's like rocking A's and B's at this point. She's a little rock star. But I will say that like, yeah, from my perspective, I totally get the idea of like wanting to homeschool your kids. I totally get the concept of putting them in private school. If you happen to have a really, 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 really good public school that you want to send them to, like whatever. The only thing I ever tell parents is that like whatever your decision is regarding schooling your children, make damn good and sure that the people educating your children are held to account. So if you start seeing silly shit going on in that school, you need to get involved and you need to get loud and you need to get forceful and you need to get your foot up somebody's behind so they understand that you are going to be a pain in their ass until they do their jobs. Like
that's what my mom
did.
The
very few times I ever had an issue with my daughter's schools, I literally like stopped what I was doing, went to the principal, sat down in her office and said, I'm going to sit here until you stop what you're doing and address my concern because my kid is here. And as long as she's here, you have to deal with me. Yep. And you would be surprised, like the old adage, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. Oh my God, is it the most accurate thing on earth? Sometimes you just have to be the squeaky wheel.
You do. You know, you're going to get people calling you a Karen for doing it, but it's your child.
Look,
if you're not going to advocate for them, no one else will.
I've been called much worse by people that meant less to me.
Right? Or meant more. I've been called wildly aggressive things by people that I care a lot more about than school principal.
Yeah. Anyway, to topic 25 minutes in, what should have been a quick little 5-minute, what the hell are you doing, DJT?
No, the government's fucking up. We cannot let that go by without a solid talk.
But why? Why can't they just make it 4 years without doing something that makes me crazy?
It is literally impossible for people that want political power to not use political power once they have it. It's functionally impossible.
That's annoying, Nick.
Yes.
Words of wisdom. Anyway, so a prepper's recipe book. So this was a topic we've had kicking around for a while. It's something that was actually looking forward to doing, because in the research of doing this, I intend to try some of these recipes, or there's something similar to something I've already baked. So I'm going to try it this way and, just kind of like experiment around with it. But like, rules of engagement for this, for me and Nick, was I wasn't like hard floor on it has to be something that's shelf stable, or it has to be something that doesn't involve refrigerated stuff. But I told Nick, I really want to lean more in that direction of like things that don't require refrigeration once they're cooked, or things that have a long shelf life. Something you could use, like I can make this and then I can eat it on for the next several days. I can keep it in a pouch or in a pack, or things that, God forbid, we're in
walking around food,
or if we're in an extended grid down situation, everything refrigerated is gone. What could we still cook? What could we still bake without milk and eggs and all those things once all the perishable stuff is gone? Because like, I have a substantial dry goods storage. I'm sure you do. Most people do.
I do.
But most people don't have a lot of baking stuff in their dry goods like I do.
It's a luxury item for some people.
It is a luxury item, but it's also I have a 5-gallon bucket of all that stuff because I like to bake. I like to make stuff. And we're not just going to eat red beans and rice for the rest of our lives.
Which is delicious.
It is. But
your wife will be so upset.
Yeah, that's why there's baking stuff and chocolate chips and various other things, so that I can placate the two women in my life, so that they don't gut me and wear my skin like a tauntaun, because
you are going to have to sleep at some point.
I mean, that's the theory. Mm-hmm. But very first thing on the list, hardtack. This was like an easy thing to find. It's something that I intend to try. Like, I've done things.
I have made this.
I've never made hardtack. I've made things similar to it. I mean, that's the thing, is that like a lot of these are like 1 or 2 ingredients away from stuff I have baked. Oh, yeah. So I'm thinking these aren't that out of pocket. But for the uninitiated, hardtack is literally like the world's driest, heartiest biscuit.
Driest, plainest, slightly salty biscuit.
Yeah. Honestly, you know what I bet this is very similar to? You remember the mainstay rations that I recommend to everybody, because they're vacuum sealed and they're saltwater rated. They're actually marine rations. Mm-hmm. I have not popped. I actually brought one to the matter of fact summer camp, and we just never got to pop it open.
Yeah.
But I've talked to people that have eaten them, and it sounds a lot like hardtack.
The difference being, you can bite into a mainstay ration. Do not attempt to bite into hardtack if you like teeth.
That's quitter talk, man.
No, man. Make one, try to bite it.
Okay, so who's going to do the biscuit challenge with hardtack?
Just don't. It's so hard, guys. For those of you that don't know, hardtack is essentially making a flour brick, a flour and water brick that is shelf stable. Okay, it was meant to be put into soups or stews or soaked and softened up to thicken up things. You could bust it up, smash it up in like a mortar and pestle, and use it to bread like meats and stuff as well. It is comparable in texture to, like, imagine an incredibly stale saltine cracker, but 20 times denser.
Outstanding.
It's like trying to bite into a piece of hardwood.
I wonder if it would actually like do anything to add some baking powder to this, like to try to get it to air up a little bit.
If you leaven it like that, Phil, you add places for moisture to get to.
Yeah,
the whole point behind this being unleavened is there's no moisture in it. There's no moisture to get. There's no place for moisture to get into it easily, so that you don't get pests going into it, because it's hard for them to eat into. You will get weevils eventually, which, in case anybody's wondering, it's like a little maggot from a fly kind of deal that will eat into the biscuits eventually. But these things, I made some and I kept them in just a Tupperware container, just a random Tupperware container in my pantry at room temperature for 2.5 years. And thrown into soup, they tasted exactly the same. Wasn't great, but it's food.
It probably wasn't great the day you packed it, though, to be perfectly frank.
It was not. It, like I said, it tasted exactly the same. It tasted like a brick of flour.
We do have to be disciplined for the audio listeners about reading these things, though.
Sure.
So for those of you who are watching the streams, we have this up on the screen. For those of you who are listening to this, the 600 or 650 or 700 of y'all that are out there that still listen to this as an audio-only podcast, I'm sorry, we'll have to read this off to you. But it's 2 cups of flour, 3/4 cup of water, salt to taste. You mix it together until it's a not sticky dough. So add a little bit of flour, add a little bit of water, roll it back and forth. You roll it out to a thickness of 1/2 inch, cut it into 3-inch squares, and then you bake it at 375 for 30 minutes, flip it, and then 30 more minutes.
There's a thing that you missed in here. One thing you have to do is you got to take a fork or a sharp knife, and you got to poke a bunch of holes in it. Every 1/2 inch, you need holes. That way it's the same thickness all the way through, so you got air passage through it so that all of the moisture can get out. You want it to sound like you're dink, dink, dink when you hit it with a knife, like you're whacking on a piece of hardwood. It should be bone dry when you're done. If it's not, continue baking it.
Are you reading Jeff's comment?
Yeah, I saw that.
So Jeff said, go ahead.
Jeff said he made some, stored it in an old pant leg, got lost in the camping gear for 10 years, and were just fine when he found them again. So this is completely uncontrolled storage.
Yeah, that's a nice way of putting it.
That's really what it is, and that's what this stuff was made for. This stuff was... occasionally it was referred to as ship's biscuit.
Ship's biscuit, sailor biscuit. I mean, yeah, this
Put in a wooden barrel or crate with nothing there, and they just bust the top off the barrel, grab out a bunch of them, and hand them out.
Yeah. But that's, I figure, where we'd start, because that's just a good, easy place to start.
Yeah, it's one that you have a hard time getting wrong. Just do not add any fats to it. Do not add any seasonings to it other than salt. I know I have heard that you can get away with some things like cayenne. I have not tested that. But like I said, I have not tested it.
I don't know how much good cayenne would do, to be perfectly honest.
Some people do it so that it spices up a stew, like black pepper, cayenne, salt, and then they throw it in a stew as part of like a thickening agent for the stew. So it adds some other flavors to it as well. But most of them, it's just flour, water, salt, and then bake it till it's a brick.
Yeah. Next on the list, red beans and rice. This should not be a surprise to anybody, because I put it on the list, because you're not going to have a prepper recipe book without red beans and rice. And if you want to use any other thing there than dry red kidney beans, I mean, that's fine. I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed, because you really should be cooking red beans. It's tradition.
It is.
But anyway, dry kidney beans, 1 pound of dry kidney beans, 2 cups white rice, salt, cayenne, Cajun seasoning. If you don't know what Cajun seasoning is, you really should come down here and visit me, and I will elucidate you. But needless to say, you and Tony Sashery should be on a first name basis. And optional veggies. So like
basically whatever veggies or meat you've got.
Yeah. I mean, optimally, onion, bell pepper, celery, garlic, what's in this list, and sausage, preferably andouille sausage, like as the ultimate would be preferable, but I'll be real honest.
Anything fatty will do.
Yeah, really and truly. I mean, look, let's call it what it is. This recipe was, keeping poor ass French immigrants in South Louisiana fed for generations.
Yep. It's filling, sticks around, it's high protein, it's got decent carbs, and if you do it right, a lot of fat, which is fantastic for survival.
Raggle, I will allow slap your mama, but I'm still, this family is a Tony's family. It's like, how there's families that are like GM products and Ford products and Chrysler products.
They're silly because you can make those exact seasoning blends for way cheaper, unlike a car.
I'm not going to dignify that with a response.
I will send you my Cajun seasoning blend. We'll see how it goes.
No. Which, by the way, since we're talking about Cajun seasoning, did you know that Tony Chachere's makes individual packets of Tony Chachere's?
Oh, that's interesting.
It comes in really handy. So hear me out. I figured this out before I came to prepper camp several years ago. Because, when you take the cardboard tube of Cajun seasoning, the humidity gets to it, it all clumps together, it turns to a horrible mess. Well, the individual packets are like the plastic packets. So the Cajun seasoning doesn't get exposed to moisture, and it's like the perfect thing to take camping.
Oh.
Yes.
That's a great idea.
It is a great idea. I was literally walking through the aisles right before prepper camp one year and just happened to see it. And I was like, oh my God. And I bought 2 boxes.
Nice. It's worthwhile to have.
Yeah. But anyway, the only thing in here that's even remotely like, I guess bears pointing out, is that with dry kidney beans, not talking about the canned stuff, which is a vibe. I recommend you have lots of canned veggies on the shelf.
They cook up faster.
Yeah. But dry kidney beans, you better soak those bastards overnight. Like you
or
have
pressure cook them.
Yeah, but how many people are going to have a working pressure cooker when we're talking about like fridges are down, perishable foods are
Well,
gone?
if you plan to do any canning, you should probably have a pressure canner, and that doubles as a pressure cooker.
That's true. That's true.
Mm-hmm.
But...
And if you're going to be stocking 50, 60, 80 pounds of red beans, you should probably have a pressure cooker that you can throw on a Coleman or over a fire.
You just need to plan ahead. Soak them beans.
True.
Do it for the vibes.
Fair.
Next up, peanut butter cookies. Now, I'll start by saying I love me some peanut butter cookies. I have a peanut butter cookie recipe that is like chef's freaking kiss. But the problem is
a fiend for those.
The problem, remind me and I'll send you the recipe. The problem is it involves a lot of butter.
Mm-hmm.
And, butter, especially commercial butter, it's got some preservatives in it. It'll be okay at room temperature for like a while, but eventually it's going to start to turn. Sure. So I started looking for a peanut butter cookie recipe that did not involve anything you couldn't conceivably store long term. I know from firsthand experience, peanut butter in a reasonably, doesn't have to be like air conditioned, but in a not 100-degree environment, peanut butter is good for well over a year, just sitting on the shelf.
Yeah, especially unopened.
Yeah, unopened.
Mm-hmm. Even opens, it lasts a disturbingly long time.
Yeah, I mean, if you get to the point where the oil is starting to separate off, just get in there and whip it back together. It'll be fine.
Yeah, if you mix that back up, you're good.
When it tastes bad, it is bad, and if it tastes fine, it's still fine.
And you'll know
once
it goes rancid. You'll know
immediately. But a cup of peanut butter, 3/4 cup of white sugar, 1/4 cup of flour. None of that stuff goes bad quickly. Mm-hmm. Once you've mixed all that together with a couple of tablespoons of water for the consistency. The instructions here do say to chill the dough before you bake it if you're able to, but I say if you can't chill it, then at least get it in the shade, don't let it be hot.
Yeah.
But you bake them,
probably just thin out too much.
Yeah. It'll if you start baking it without it being chilled, and from experience, it's just going to flatten out and make really, really thin, large cookies. And in that case, these baking instructions say 10 to 12 minutes at 350, you probably want to go 8 minutes if they thin out too much, because the thinner they get, the faster they'll bake.
Right. That makes sense.
It's a quick, dirty little recipe. You can please the people in your life that have a sweet tooth or like peanut butter cookies, and it doesn't require anything that's going to go bad.
You can sub the white sugar in this recipe for honey. If you look up the ratio for substituting however much honey for however much sugar. I don't know if that would cause them to spread out more quickly because it's adding more liquid into the mix, but you may just have to balance it out with a little more flour for consistency.
Yeah, that'd be an interesting experiment. Jeff J.
Probably tastes pretty great.
Pumpkin cookies better be in this list. They're not.
I've never had pumpkin cookies. I now desire pumpkin cookies.
Remind me later. I don't have a pumpkin cookie recipe, but I do have a brown sugar maple cookie recipe with homemade maple icing.
Oh,
it's
damn it! I'm gonna get diabetes.
Oh, dude, don't hang around me too long. You will get diabetes.
Between you and my grandma, Jesus Christ.
I will say that, like, I've never met a person that can eat more than 2 of them because they're so, like, they're not.
It's aggressive.
They're not sugar sweet. It's the maple syrup.
Yeah.
But they are super, 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 super rich.
Nice.
Got a frog in my throat and no more coffee to drink. That's annoying.
That's terrifying.
All right. Cornmeal mush. This is the last one from my list. So
that's a good one.
2.5 cups of water, 1.25 cups cornmeal, salt, and mix it together in a medium saucepan. Cook it over medium heat 5 to 7 minutes, stirring frequently. I had never heard of frying this stuff, which
I have. You can make almost like a hash brown patty out of it.
I mean, it makes perfect sense. I've never tried it before, but now I really want to try frying cornmeal mush because I can see that being a vibe.
Oh, it's great.
But this came about because I was looking for, like, okay, so I almost cannot bring myself to make red beans and rice without cornbread. It's just the thing.
It's understandable.
But cornbread involves things that spoil.
It does. What? Eggs, butter,
milk,
cornmeal. You don't need milk. Do you need milk for cornbread? It's been a long time since I've made cornbread. That reminds me, I need to make cornbread.
Give me a second, I'll tell you.
Well, if it does require milk, powdered milk, bro. That's all I bake with because no one in my household drinks milk.
No, you're right. No, it does. 1 cup of milk and 1 large egg.
I must use powdered milk for mine then.
Yeah, I mean, that's at least that's my recipe, which my cornbread recipe, I will put toe to toe with anybody else's. Do
you use like cream corn or like sweet corn chunks in there, or do you just use cornmeal?
Christ, no. Why would you?
Good. Excellent. There are people around me that do that. They put cream corn in their cornbread to moisten it so it doesn't get all crumbly, which is like the best part of cornbread.
No, the only thing I've ever put in my cornbread, which was really cool, but it had an unintended consequence, was one time I chopped up jalapenos and added that to the cornbread.
Ooh,
that was exactly
in chili.
It tasted exactly the way you're imagining it did.
That sounds fantastic.
Yeah,
I've done like a good sharp cheddar mixed up in the cornbread with chili, because you're gonna throw cheese in the chili anyway.
Yeah. But here's the problem. See, normally, with cornbread, like, you can leave it out on the counter for like a day or two. It's usually okay, right?
Yeah.
Well, guess what? When you chop up jalapenos and put it in the cornbread, all the moisture from the jalapenos made all these little pockets for bacteria to grow. And the next morning, it was just mold blooms all over the cornbread. I was so pissed off because I had like a loaf and a half.
That's upsetting.
I had a loaf and a half of jalapeno cornbread just skunked. But I'd never tried to make it before, so it never even occurred. Then again, I didn't think the jalapeno cornbread would survive the night.
Right. But well, that just goes back to prove the point with the hardtack is the more moisture, the more fats that you add into these things, the faster they're going to degrade.
Yeah. I mean,
up until a point, and we'll get to that.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, that's always going to be the problem is that the secret sauce to making the stuff last a while is to get the moisture out of it. So just keep that in mind.
Absolutely.
Now, I know I mentioned pemmican. Is it pemmican or pemmican? I've heard it
both ways. I call it pemmican, but that's just what I was taught. I'm sure that is probably wrong, and someone will correct me and say Native Americans called it pemmican or something else. Doesn't matter. This is actually kind of the opposite of where you put so much fat into something that nothing else can live there. All right.
I like where this is going.
Have you ever tried pemmican, Phil?
I haven't.
Okay. Essentially what it is for in this recipe is you get yourself a pound of lean meat, either beef jerky, venison, chicken, anything that you can get almost all the fat out of it by trimming it, and then dehydrate it into a jerky. And I'm talking like a brittle jerky, not like the Jack Link stuff where it's still flexible. You want to get all the moisture out of it, trim all the fat off.
You want to turn it into meat powder.
Correct. You want to make that nice hard jerky, then you want to dice it up really fine, and then you want to powder it. Food processor's great for that. Otherwise, mortar and pestle works good. Otherwise, a cloth bag and a meat tenderizer works pretty good. Then you're going to need half a pound of dried berries of your choice. Blueberries, cranberries, choke cherries, doesn't matter. Any berry that you can eat and tolerate that you can dry into like a raisin form. And then you want a half a pound of nuts. Pine nuts, cashews, walnuts. Any of the long-lasting shelf-stable nuts is fine. And then you need a pound of rendered fat. So essentially you need a pound of berries and nuts mixed. You need a pound of jerky of some kind that's powdered. You could probably even use fish jerky, though it might taste weird with the fat. Yeah. And then you need a pound of tallow or rendered fat. Now you can do that yourself. You can render your own fat. All it takes is a crock pot or a slow cooker or a pot over a low heat for a very long time. I did a crock pot full of beef tallow the one year, and I will warn you, everything cloth in your house will smell like rendered beef fat. So if that's not a smell that you can deal with for a couple of weeks to months, do it in the garage or do it outside. And then what you do is, so you grind up the meat and the jerky into a rough powder. You do the same to the dried berries and nuts, okay? You mix all your dry ingredients together and you warm up the fat until you got the tallow in like a liquid form. And then you pour that into the bowl, mix it up until you've got it well incorporated. You want all of the powder to be fully encapsulated in fat, okay? That's going to be your preservative layer. Then you're going to pour that still molten mixture of fat, nuts, fruit, and jerky into like some muffin cups or a sheet pan, anywhere that it can cool. And then you're going to, Jeff, yeah, don't use fish, doesn't go well with legged fats. That's kind of what I was thinking. And then once it cools, you can demold it. You can take it out of the mold, or you can take it out of your pan. You can cut it up into bars. Tallow does not smell horrible. It smells delicious. My wife is wrong.
I think your wife might be saying that the house smelling like tallow is horrible.
I pulled some T-shirts out that I had not worn in probably 6 months after I made tallow, and the cotton T-shirts did smell vaguely of beef tallow. So it sticks around in the air. It is wild.
I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but like most women do not consider the smell of beef tallow to be an aphrodisiac.
You know, Phil, that may be accurate. That may be accurate.
I mean,
but it was delicious.
Your wife is watching. I could go ask mine, but I'm pretty sure I know what she's going to comment, because every time I season the cast iron in this house, I have to hear about it.
All I know is the homemade tallow fried steaks with mushroom and onion gravy was a big hit. And we required several jars of beef tallow to make that happen. So consequences had to be suffered for delicious steak dinner.
Fair.
But this stuff is kind of like a primitive granola bar. You can store it like you would a granola bar. It's just a extremely high protein with a little bit of fats and carbohydrates. Well, a lot of fats and a little bit of carbohydrates that is shelf stable, and you can eat it without any further cooking or prep.
I dig it.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's higher protein than like a lot of the protein bars that you see out there, because it's meat and fat.
So, I mean, care to take a stab at what the shelf life is on this?
I have heard months to years. It depends on your environment. And I don't know that there is a published shelf life for it. Let me take a look really quick. 6 months to 1 year is what I'm seeing right now from survivalsullivan.com.
Nice.
But I'm also seeing from New Life on a Homestead 3 months to 5 years, depending on how you store it. Freezer greater than 5 years.
Well, yeah.
Now, I know the meat eater, however you feel about those guys, the meat eater guys, Steve Ranella and all them, they did an article on it, and they recommend vacuum sealing the pemmican in like individual or 1 day allotments for when they take it out backcountry hunting, just to keep it clean and to keep it dry.
Yeah.
But obviously, the higher temperature environment you're in, the faster that's going to degrade, because the fats are going to reliquefy at some of the higher temperatures. The colder your climate, the longer it's going to last.
Yeah. I mean, that seems fair.
I mean, it's pretty tasty if you like beef jerky and you like trail mix. It tastes like a fattier beef jerky trail mix. It's kind of got a little bit of an odd mouthfeel just because of how fatty it is, because the fat kind of coats your mouth a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
You get used to it. It's not bad. We made it actually in Boy Scouts a few times.
All right. So what's last on this list?
Portable soup. This is great granddaddy's bouillon. Okay. This is bouillon before pre-made bouillon existed. Essentially what you're going to do is you're going to take 10 pounds of meaty bones. So chicken, beef, lamb, pork, doesn't matter. Anything that you can make a stock out of, you can make portable soup out of. You can even do it with veggies, although it's not as nutritious. You put 10 pounds of bones in a stock pot. You throw in about 2 tablespoons of black peppercorns and 2 teaspoons of salt. Cover all that stuff with water in a stock pot just to the top of the bones, and then bring it to a boil. Reduce heat to simmer for about 8 or 10 hours. Then you got to allow it to cool. You skim off all the heavy chunks of fat that'll form at the top, and you set that aside for cooking later. And you can render that down more into like a tallow that is also shelf stable. Strain the stock through a fine sieve or like a cheesecloth, anything that'll catch all those bits, the pieces of flesh, anything like that. You just want the stock. Then you want to put it back into a wide pot and bring it to a boil, reduce the heat to a simmer, and then simmer it until it is almost a gel. Okay? You're going to reduce a gallon down to about 1 cup in volume.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Then you're going to pour that out onto like a sheet pan or something that where it can cool and harden, and it'll form almost like a candy. That gel will turn into like a hard, kind of like a candy, I guess would be the easiest way to describe it. Then what you do is you either cut that up into 1 inch by 1 inch cubes if you can, because those 1 inch by 1 inch cubes dissolved in a cup of water will make about a cup of broth or a cup of stock. And this stuff is shelf stable for, I have heard, again, months to years. And it's basically you're making your own bouillon.
Interesting.
So yeah, 6 months to a year I'm seeing.
I've never tried making this. I will say that like one of the things we do in this house is that whenever we do anything in the slow cooker, we always make sure we salvage some of the stock.
Yeah.
And we usually like mason jar that up, throw it in the freezer, and we hang on to that kind of as a starter for the next batch.
You could cook that down into a portable soup, and then it would be shelf stable.
I mean, that's worth trying, because we always save a mason jar or two, and then we're always throwing some down the drain. So maybe next time that's the thing to do, is to just
try it. Cook it down to portable soup. Just make sure you strain it first.
I was going to say, if nothing else, strain the crap out of it, put it right back into the same slow cooker, and just leave it on low heat for a day.
So there's a great YouTube channel that has some of these older recipes that they try them on. He's kind of like a Revolutionary War era reenactor guy called Townsend's, TOWNSENDS on YouTube. He has an excellent portable soup video. He shows you step by step how to make the whole thing. It does take a considerable amount of time, though. But you basically have homemade bouillon, and it's not nearly as salty as regular bouillon. Jeff commented, I cannot personally answer the question of how long I believe he's referencing how long it will be shelf stable, as it never made it that long. But Lewis and Clark buried pemmican on their way west for their trip back. That is correct. A lot of long haul hunters would do that. They would cache pemmican with their furs and stuff for the trip back, because it's high energy food, and they had all the meat and fat anyway.
Yeah, I mean, and that's really a lot of like what provoked me to like kick this topic back up. It was just the fact that like there's so many of these recipes that like they've been around, and a lot of us don't actively practice them, but none of this is new stuff. Like this is literally how people used to get ready for the winter a couple of 100 years ago.
Phil, have you heard of fat cap canning?
Fat cap canning.
You can use either butter or tallow or other things.
Yes,
as a lid for a canning jar or canning pot.
Not by that name, but yes, you're talking about where you use a jar full of like tallow to store your meat in, and the layer of tallow prevents anything from getting into it or spoiling it.
Yep.
Yes, I have.
So you can do that actually with jams and jellies too. You can pour a layer of clarified. Okay, so one thing you have to use is either clarified tallow, or clarified butter. So it's a further refining process of the butter or tallow where you heat it up again and you take only the clear liquid off. It basically gets more of the water out of the butter and the fat. It's similar to like making a ghee. And you then pour that clarified butter or clarified tallow over top of, say, your jam jar, which jam is largely high enough sugar content that bacteria can't grow in it anyway. But you can form an airtight and bug-tight seal, basically by putting that layer of fat over top of it. And then typically what people would do is they would put a cloth over that to protect that fat cap. It's a way to do it without canning lids, like the ball canning lids. But it requires obviously a lot of fat or a lot of butter.
Yeah. Which, to be honest, like I kind of feel like that's going to be the one stumble for a lot of these recipes, especially when you start talking about having to render tallow. Is just the fact that, like, back in the day, quite frankly, we had animal fat lying around all over the place.
We still do. Call up your local butcher. Tell them you're looking for beef fat for rendering tallow. When we bought our quarter, last time that I got beef fat with the quarter, they charged us nothing to just give me all of the fat alongside those. Oh, great. I don't have to throw this away. Here you go.
I mean, it's basically a waste product to them.
Whatever they don't use in the grinds. Yeah, it is. When I go to my local butcher to get some, usually he just charges me a couple of bucks basically to cover his labor of putting it in a bag and handing it to me.
Fair.
Yeah. But
so the one thing none of us talked about, even though you kind of glanced over it, I have to give credit to Raggle because he's the one that brought it up. Where did it go?
Tony's is too salty?
No, he's wrong. I mean, he's a cool dude, but he's wrong.
It's okay to be wrong sometimes. I'm wrong all the time.
There we go. Beef jerky is the be-all, end-all.
Yeah. Pemmican is just next level beef jerky.
Yeah. I would just say that, like, to me, I think the two takeaways from this episode is, first of all, like, all the recipes I threw in here, I intend to actually try in peacetime, in good times. When if it goes bad, it's not like I've wasted anything. I can't go to the store and replace. But like, I want to try these recipes and I want to practice them. And I feel like some of this stuff, like you have to kind of work it into your repertoire.
You do.
And the other thing I would say is that, like, if you lack basic kitchen and baking skills, then you might consider this your opportunity to start learning those things, because it's not really hard. YouTube University can teach you all this stuff, but it is a skill set.
I mean, it is almost impossible with a modern oven to screw up hardtack. It is. If you don't think you can bake, start with hardtack, because if you got it too dry, congratulations, you did it correctly. It's pretty hard to overbake that stuff, and even if it ends up really dark and slightly burnt, it doesn't matter. You're not eating it for the flavor of the hardtack. You're using it as a calorie add to liquid foodstuffs.
Mm-hmm. And insofar as everything else we had on here, like, give it a try. None of this stuff is rocket surgery. You have to commit yourself to learning it, and especially when you get in some of the baking recipes, a little bit of experience with, like, add a little bit of this, add a little bit of that to balance out a recipe. It just comes with time.
Yeah. Jeff's right. Exploring biltong next. That'd be a good one too.
So,
I've not personally made that one.
What is it?
It's like a different version of jerky from my understanding.
How do you have a different version of jerky? Jerky is just meat that's been dried.
I'm not sure. I'm not entirely sure. I haven't done anything with it. I've eaten some, and it reminded me a lot of jerky, but I'm told it's not jerky. I think it's just a different tradition of doing a smoked dried meat. Maybe it's more smoked than dried.
That may be. I'll have to Google it because now I'm curious.
Yeah. It tastes pretty good when I tried it.
Well, I mean, it's meat. It's
starting
from
hard
a good
to go
base
wrong.
layer.
Yeah, except for some of those raw meat dishes. That's not my bag.
All right. Well, I promised my wife we would not go to 9:00 tonight.
Okay. So you have 26 minutes.
No. Oh, hang on, Jeff. Jeff at the buzzer. Biltong is thicker, salt dried while hanging. Okay.
Okay. That explains why I enjoyed it. I like salty meats.
I mean, you're a heterosexual man.
It's true.
I feel like
the Midwest.
True. Although, what heterosexual man doesn't enjoy salted meats?
Apparently, my vegan coworker.
Are you going to make me repeat myself?
He's married with children.
That's neither here nor there. You're still making two assumptions.
I'm just saying. He doesn't. He claims he's vegan. I have to believe the guy. Sure eats a hell of a lot of cookies, though.
I'm picking on all of our vegans and vegetarians out there. Y'all do y'all. Just don't get stupid with me about my love of eating things that used to have faces and eyeballs.
Veganism is academically incorrect. Humans were designed to eat both vegetables and meat.
And this is why we can never break the shadow banning, because we make comments. Like I scream about politicians, and then we make jokes about vegans and vegetarians. What else do we do that? You know what? That will be the episode, not next week, because Mrs. Matter of Fact is going to sub for you. Mm-hmm. But the week after, we should have at least a half an hour episode about all the reasons we're shadow banned.
We could. I mean, I assume they are large and varied, and I'm to be honest with you, I don't care.
Oh, but I really want to show graphics and pictures and everything of what happens when someone turns the engagement knob down to 0, because you can watch something really cheeky and funny go up, and then the graph turns horizontal. Like sharp knee point. In
order for leftist ideology to succeed, they have to have a heavily moderated space.
Is that why they got so pissed off when we took Twitter away?
That is exactly why. And that's why they made Blue Sky,
which is a raging dumpster fire, I'm told.
Oh, I'm sure it is. Jack Dorsey created it. Twitter was a dumpster fire. Twitter still is a dumpster fire.
Yes, but it's a fun dumpster fire now.
Define fun.
Unregulated.
No, it's still heavily regulated.
Not compared to what it was.
4chan.
Okay, yeah, but 4chan is like a cultural phenomenon.
4chan is nearly entirely unregulated.
Nearly entirely.
Well, I mean, there are boards with stated topics. They never stay there. They never stay on the topic.
Kind of like this show.
No, that's fine.
Raggle Fraggle said hunting and dressing games should be a topic. If you want to come on the show and talk to us about, hunting and dressing game, I know the host. I can make that happen.
Yeah. Discussing dressing game without visuals, that would probably get us kicked off of one bolt or both of two of our three places we're streaming to may be difficult. I wonder if we couldn't get away with illustrated images. Allergies. Terrible.
Possible. Anyway,
We'll think about it.
We'll think about it. But we're going to go ahead and roll the show out. I promised my wife we wouldn't be on all night. And
Good.
Nick's wife will probably also appreciate that because I'm sure
she would appreciate that.
I'm sure she would like to hang out with him more than he would to hang out with all y'all.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I did marry her, not you guys.
Yeah. There's a joke there, but I'm going to leave it alone. But anyway, Matter of Facts podcast is going to go out the door, and I will have Mrs. Matter of Facts in the studio next week, and only Jesus Christ knows what we're going to get into. So teaching. We'll see.
I demand a topic on what is all wrong with the schools.
And then we'll find out if she's still employed after we have that episode. All right, going out the door. Good night, everybody. Behave or don't behave. I mean, you're all adults. You make your own decisions. Bye.
Good night.